Unfiltered at 8:30. Now, today is the International Day for the Protection of Children. It comes at a time when the plight of vulnerable children is being compounded by COVID-19. UNICEF has warned that without urgent action, this health crisis risks becoming a child rights crisis. The education of tens of millions of children has been disrupted on an unparalleled global scale, as have immunization programs as well as food distribution. Child abuse is also reported to be on the rise. To discuss, we're now joined by Professor Shanaaz Mathews, the director at the Children's Institute at UCT. Professor, thank you very much for being with us. There has been some concern during the lockdown, firstly, that children have been locked in sometimes with their abusers. Is the reopening of the economy, more movement from today, a good thing from your perspective, from the perspective of children?
I think the opening of the economy and certainly poses other challenges. What we are seeing is firstly that schools have not opened across the country, as well as early childhood development centres. With parents going to work, a big problem we are facing is that caregiving of children is a concern, because who are children be left with and protected? So I think although there is an opening of the economy, children's safety and their protection is certainly a concern.
The danger also comes from outside. So children can go to teachers when they're in trouble or other caregivers, but sometimes their abusers are also on the outside. I mean, is it hard to determine what's best here?
The difficulty is, and I think, if you're looking at the age spectrum and across the lifespan of a child, so with younger children, they're most at risk of being vulnerable and abused within their own home. And we do know when stress levels are high, physical punishment in the form of corporal punishment as well as other forms of physical abuse, certainly your younger children are most vulnerable. And it's those children that you want to protect. When you're looking at older children, and particularly what we are seeing, and particularly around vulnerabilities of older children, so and we're looking at deaths, we are seeing that your adolescents, for instance, we're seeing less deaths. So for the month of April, there had been less adolescent murders, for instance. And that's just an indication that for some age groups, it's more protective to be in the home. But we also know that there are risks outside the home, particularly if you're not having the kind of caregiving that will allow children to be safe and protected.
Comment then on the opening of schools. Is this something you support?
I think the opening of schools, certainly if it's safe and in terms of the health of children, and if it's certainly children need to be in an environment with their own peers. And I think education is really, really important, because what we are seeing also is that, with months of children not being in education, that they're going to lose out, and particularly children living in poverty that don't have access to digital technology will certainly be falling behind.
Is so important. I mean, I know that many children around the world are homeschooled, but for many, seeing their friends, being with other children is important.
What we also know is that, for children going to school, it's incredibly protective. Often the support that teachers can provide, particularly when there is violence and abuse in the home. So what we have seen within lockdown is that when children are contained to the home, that they don't have the support structures that normally would be there, like your school, like families and friends, and therefore opening up and allowing children to have more access to support structures will in fact be more protective as well.
Schools, it's been said, will be a sadder place, though. No hugging your friends, not many sports, presumably on the playground for now. That changes everything.
It will definitely change, but I think, the important thing is also for us to understand that we are social beings, and for children to be isolated will not bring the best out of them. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult when children return, because the new normal won't be what they used to, and teaching children what to expect from peers will also be difficult. But I think there are many challenges that we need to overcome in the next few weeks.
Well, finally, I mean, are you concerned there could be new anxieties, maybe guilt amongst the children if they can't do the right things or their mask slips off? Is that an issue parents and teachers have to now consider?
I think it's really important as children return to school that we also consider what psychosocial support is necessary, both within schools for teachers as well as children, because it is quite a bit to get used to, both for children and for teachers. And I think the environment is going to be incredibly difficult. And as you say, how do you keep your mask on all day? And how do children understand that they can't be hugging and playing with friends as normal? So there's going to have to be quite a number of ways of educating both children as they go back to school.
And of course, the big focus on children's education. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga says schools without protective gear for learners and teachers cannot reopen next week. June the 8th, of course, is the revised date for the resumption of the academic year.